and they arranged a meeting at the old JCC, and their first meeting was okay. But then when Barbara took Steve to her parents' house, their connections really started to bond. They had a piano there, and Barbara and Steve spent time around the piano, playing and singing for each other. And then Steve met Barbara's mother, Zelda, and he immediately fell in love with Zelda. She was charming and lovely and sensitive and artistic and loved the arts. And then Steve realized what he had in Barbara. All those characteristics that he loved about her mother were in Barbara too. And so they started to date. They went to the Houston Symphony. They fell in love, and in 1957 they eloped and married up in Denton, which became a family tradition, passed through the generations. They moved back to Houston and started a family. Steve got a good engineering job at Brown and Root, and Barbara ran the home and started her journey of service and joy and art and family and community. In 1967, Steve created an opportunity to travel to Spain with his company. And in 2 weeks' time, the family packed up their home, moved to Madrid for 2 years. Life for Barbara was an adventure, and she embraced that adventure with her humor and creativity, her wit and her generous spirit. They moved back to Houston, reconnected with their community. This shul, Bris Shalom, became their community. Barbara was a creative soul, always creating and working on something. A letter from Rabbi Moshe Kahana dated April 9th, 1973. Dear Barbara, Shalom. The family Shabbat that we had last weekend was one of the most beautiful and blessed religious experiences that we've ever had. How beautiful it is to celebrate Shabbat as a religious fellowship in praying, learning, singing, dancing, and in friendship. You, dear Barbara, helped so much to create this wonderful atmosphere. The food was delicious. The service was elegant and beautiful. We are thankful to you for your efforts. Very truly yours, Rabbi Moshe Kahana. This is the kind of thing that she facilitated and hosted throughout her entire life, always working on something, a quilt, a garden, a party. She was completely resourceful. Whenever she approached a challenge, her internal voice said, "How hard could it possibly be?" She made it happen with grace and commitment to excellence. She and her friends set to work creating the Bris Shalom Follies, with Ralph Katz and Marcia Sheena and Joan Pressman and Earl Dockschlager. The whole gang created this fun, uplifting, elaborate, intelligent productions that brought energy and creativity and deep fellowship to this congregation. She served through the Follies, through the kitchen, in the kitchen with Naomi, organizing bake dates, weddings, and bar mitzvahs. And for her connections here, she got involved with the Gilbert and Sullivan Society, a lifelong source of inspiration and creativity, connection, and joy. She was in charge of the costumes, the backgrounds, the sets. And when Barbara was on the scene, everything had to be done just so. She didn't tolerate slipshod work, not at Gilbert and Sullivan, and not in the Bris Shalom Choir. She was a woman who appreciated art and gave it her all. She understood that great art required commitment and heart and passion. Her kids remember being brought along for all these Follies rehearsals, having their own adventures through the synagogue building. It was a carefree and wonderful time. There were productions, vacations, summer vacations in Colorado in the cabins, winter ski vacations, always with a community of friends and family. The house was filled with people and joy and creativity. Big placards from all the different sets, random giant playing cards and fabrics and designs all over the house. Barbara was a great friend, a loving and kind friend. She always wanted to give, to be there for her friends, for her children and grandchildren. She always wanted to be present and helpful for her community. And she never, ever wanted to be a burden to her family and her community. She inherited heart issues from her father, and she lived with a pacemaker and medications. Her end was sudden and unexpected and a tragic shock for us all. And her family is comforted that she went out on her own terms, free from an extended battle and without burden. And so this is a moment of transition. These essential, beautiful characteristics and qualities now transition to us, to her children and grandchildren, to all of us who knew her and were honored to be touched by her life. L'Ador Vador, from generation to generation, we can give honor to her life by accepting upon ourselves part of her life's mission. And so may we all carry on her spirit of adventure and joy and excellence and fun and camaraderie, fellowship and service and family, music, theater, and song. May we all strive to carry on her spirit. May we live as she would want us to live, and in that way, her memory will truly be for a blessing. Together we say, Amen, amen. Shelley.
I was preparing for a role in a teen theater play about the Holocaust, and we were all asked to come to rehearsal with a sentimental memento from home. A boy I know brought a family blanket. A girl brought a small, soft doll. And my mother gave me a rubber chicken. As my brother bit into his homemade bologna sandwich at a school lunch, his teeth extracted a paper note that read, "April Fools." My mother was a funny lady. A sense of humor was the most admired quality she had about herself and others. A sense of humor to her meant that you were smart and competent. Mom was competent in everything. She was the first Iron Chef. Our meals frequently consisted of mystery ingredients. Who needs a recipe, she said. She experimented a lot, so if you liked it, well, kind of tough because you weren't likely to get that exactly again. And if you didn't like it and you didn't eat all of it, she would say, "Eat it now or meet it later." She would make unique things called garbage cookies or African soup, which tasted fantastic, but we would all say, "Just don't tell us what's really in that." Her specialty, of course, was making a special jalapeno jelly that we are all addicted to. So when Mom made a vat of jalapeno jelly, we were standing in line for jars. And Jody and Francie have committed that they're going to continue the tradition of jalapeno jelly. She was the first Martha Stewart. Well, maybe Martha Stewart's meets Santa Fe chic, designing a home and garden that just dazzled the senses with color and light, setting her festive tables days in advance with brilliant table coverings, crystal and candles. And yet she wasn't always formal. We would have July 4th family picnics where we had hand-cranked ice cream, setting up ping pong tables on the driveway. Ping pong, not beer pong. She would always prepare for us to be the first to arrive at the Galveston beach and the last family to leave. The beach was one place Mom would chill, floating and bobbing like a cork, serving savory bites throughout the day, and then rinsing us clean, dusting us with baby powder, and putting us in loose clothes for a sleepy ride home. Her other place to chillax was Colorado. She prepared for road trips with gourmet sandwiches, chocolate brownies, a book to listen to on tape, and a big thermos of coffee.